short introduction by each of the candidates, and we're going to, oh, I'm sorry, let me introduce everybody. At the end is Javier Giraud. Javier is running for vice mayor. The next man is Michael Callahan, running for seat 2. Then Susie Loyzelle, running for vice mayor, and Chuck Barrentine, running for seat 2. With that, I'm going to sit down, and I'm just going to be a timekeeper from now on. And we will start with Javier giving a 3-minute introduction. Javier.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Javier Giraud. I'm here tonight with my lovely wife, Allie, sitting here in the front row. Our two school-age children couldn't be here tonight. My wife and I moved to Cutler Bay approximately 4 years ago. We moved from Kendall. One of the reasons we chose to move to Cutler Bay was its small town feel. We used to live in Vero Beach, Florida, which is a small town. One of the reasons there are several reasons why I'm running for vice mayor. One of the primary reasons is because I'm concerned what's happening at our town hall meetings or our council meetings and the undue influence certain lobbyists have with certain members of the town council, in particular on certain projects. Traffic is a big concern, and all I see are land development regulations approved by the current town council advocating 4-story buildings on Old Cutler Road when I don't hear the town or the people of the town asking for those things. I don't believe that the town council or certain members actually read everything they're approving. I think they support some of these matters in a vacuum, and it's having a negative impact on our community with overdevelopment and traffic congestion. I am a sole practicing attorney. I have my office in Kendall. I practice real estate law and some trust and estate law. And I also do a lot of homeowners insurance claims, representing the homeowners when their insurance companies feel that they should not be paid on a claim. I do have some municipal government experience. I worked for 5 years in Miami-Dade County as a legislative aide to Commissioner Javier Soto. During that time, we read a lot of budgets, prepared budgets, identified cost-efficient ways to trim the budget, identified funds to address citizens' concerns. I also currently I serve as a member of the board of directors of my homeowners associations, where you could consider it a mini municipality, where we also deal with budget issues and maintenance issues throughout our community. Recently, we've been able as a board to begin reducing the homeowners association assessments due to budget living within our means. Let me put it that way, by living within our means. I believe this town, there's a lot of room to cut expenses in the town. And with that, I conclude. Thank you.
Testing.
Susie, you have 3 minutes to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Javier, for your opening presentation. Hi, my name is Susie Loyzelle, and I've been a resident of the town of Cutler Bay for 23 years. And I am proud to say that I love living in this town, and I love serving this town as a councilwoman since 2010. My background is I have a degree in leisure service administration, and I've worked for the YMCA for 28 years. With this, in my position at the YMCA, I'm the Director of Government Relations and Grants. And with this experience that I brought to the town, we were able to hire a grant director through my tutelage and persistence that we need to have a grant person in the town, and we have one now, and she is doing a remarkable job. Also, I feel that grants are really important in the growth of the town. That's what brought me to the town to begin with. I came to the town in 2007 with a grant idea, and I brought it to our former councilwoman, now our mayor, Peggy Bell, and I also spoke with John Lockwood about who would be the best person, and he directed me to his mother, Louise. This grant was for Parks and Recreation through the county parks, and that was the first inkling into the town politics. And as I watched the politics going on in the town, I was a true public servant, and I wanted to make sure that I was able to continue my service, not only through my volunteerism with the Kiwanis Club, of which I've been a member for the Kiwanis Club for over 25 years. And that volunteerism and community advocacy has taken me to the level of deciding to become a public servant. I feel that by being at the council meetings and by giving back to the community, that I'm able to enhance what we have in the town. I know that I read every council meeting, because you can ask the town clerk and the manager when there's typos, and you can ask Mayor Bell as well, because I read everything. So I don't know where some of the information is being portrayed to you today. But there's a lot of information to absorb. And we as council members have to take pride, and me as the vice mayor, soon to be, have to take pride and knowledge in knowing exactly what it is that we do. So I take that to you. I take to you all of the things that we have done as far as bringing the police, extra police, and that is my time. Oops. So we will stop the time. But I wanted to thank you for your time today, and I would like to turn it over to the next candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael will have 3 minutes to give an introduction.
You gave me the broken one, didn't you, Steve? Good evening, my name is Michael Callahan. I'm here this evening with my lovely wife, Melissa Callahan. I wanted to, first of all, thank Steve and thank the Board of Directors for the concerned citizens of Cutler Bay for this great forum to be able to talk with you this evening. I've been a resident of Cutler Bay since 1977. In fact, I met my wife back at Cutler Ridge Junior High School back in 1977. Well, I mean, it took her 30 years to finally say yes, but, you know. Being a longtime resident of Cutler Bay, I've always had a strong commitment to our community, and I think that that's important, you know, and that's one of the reasons why I strongly supported incorporation. It was an opportunity to give us a voice in our own future and our own destiny, and that is very, very important. And I think commitment to the community is equally important. That's what gives you the experience to be able to make informed decisions. One of the reasons that I chose to become a member of the Parks Committee in 2009. And in 2012, I became the chair of that committee because it was important to me to make sure that when we incorporated, that we continue to make the right decisions for parks, the right decisions for police, the right decision for development. Involvement is very important to be able to gain the knowledge, to be able to listen to the citizens, our residents, to understand what their needs are, to support their needs. We've done a lot of great things since we've incorporated, and I want to build on that foundation. We've done a lot of great things in the parks. We have some great things that we want to do in the future with the possibility of the aquatic center, the possibility of Town Center Plaza. These are all great things to be able to take us to the next level. And it's that kind of commitment that is going to allow us to do that. Commitment in the community. I've been past president of the Spartan Band Parents Association. Currently, I'm the president of the Coast Academy Parents Association for Coast Academy at Cutler Bay Middle School. It's working with the community. It's understanding what their needs are. That has empowered myself to be able to run for seat 2. It's not a decision that I've taken lightly. As you can imagine, being involved with the community since 2005, I felt that the timing was right to be able to take our community to the next level. Take what I've learned through the years of being a resident of this community, going all the way back to 1977, and make the future better for our residents. Thank you.
Chuck has 3 minutes for an introduction.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight in this weather, and to thank Steve and the concerned citizens for having us all here tonight. My name is Chuck Barrentine, and I'm running for Town Council seat number 2. I've been a resident of Cutler Bay since 1992, getting here a few months before Andrew did. Been married to my wife Jody, who's in the back there, for 24 years. We have a great son, Brett, who is currently just entered his senior year at Florida International University as an education major, who will become a history teacher upon his graduation. And he's currently serving as the head football coach for the Columbus High School freshman team. My background, Columbus alumni back there, I guess. My background is in retail, asset protection, and investigations management. Been doing that for about 30 years. I've held titles with different companies: asset protection manager, regional investigator, corporate investigator, district loss prevention manager, regional loss prevention manager. And over the years, I've run divisions of districts and regions that have grossed or generated almost $390 million in revenue. Some of the areas that I've been in charge of would be physical security, investigations, safety, auditing compliance, profit and loss statement analyzation and review, which is very important, general liability, workers' compensation, among other things. I currently, in 2006, I was Mayor John Cosgrove's citizen advisor for emergency preparedness. I was the one that put together the first emergency preparedness readiness display for the residents, which got distributed. I currently hold 5 certifications with FEMA in the areas of emergency management. I served on the Home Depot emergency response team, as well as representing them with the Miami-Dade Emergency Management Bureau as the ESF 18 committee member, which, if most of you don't know, but that was a committee that was designed with Miami-Dade and the businesses in order to generate business continuity to residents in the event of a disaster like a hurricane, things like that. I ran 5 years ago for C2, and one of the things that came to mind that I learned very quickly doing that are some of the issues that have come up. Growth management is a huge issue within the town. A lot of people are not happy with the traffic and the controls, spending, government transparency, and there's several other issues that hopefully by the end of this evening, I hope you'll have my views on. Thank you.
That concludes the candidate introductions. Now we're going to move in to the candidates asking questions of each other. We will start with Javier having 1 minute to ask a question of Susie.
Ms. Loyzelle, 2 months ago you were asked at a council meeting for the approval of the new Matter Academy charter school by Mr. Condon, I believe, whether you would agree to abstain, and I'm paraphrasing, it's not exactly what he asked you, but abstain from voting on issues before you where your campaign manager or the representative for Greenpoint has been retained as a lobbyist. Are you willing to, that night you did not answer Mr. Condon's question. Tonight, are you willing to answer that question in the affirmative?
Susie has 3 minutes to answer.
There was no need to answer his question because I do not have Jose Luis, the lobbyist, as my counsel. So there was no need to answer his question. when the issue came aboard for a vote, he was no longer my campaign hired by me. I have no business relationship. Thank you.
Then Javier has 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
If you no longer have a political relationship or campaign manager candidate relationship with him, do you know why he would be using surrogates to ask me to withdraw from the race?
This is a rebuttal, it's not a second question. If you want to expound on that, you may, but it's just a rebuttal.
I'll expound on that. A review of all your campaign expenditures and reports reveals that you have an extensive relationship with Greenpoint. I don't know if it's Jose Luis or not, but Greenpoint, I believe Jose Luis Castillo is the president of that corporation. And again, I've been told that he has asked for me to withdraw from the race through surrogates. That's my rebuttal.
Next, Susie will have 1 minute to ask a question of Javier.
Hello, Javier. Do you think that being a developer, working for developers, or being developer friendly in our town could potentially be a conflict of interest if you were to ever get elected?
The answer is yes. I do own a vacant piece of property in the town, which I recently had rezoned, and if I were elected, it could pose a conflict because I would still have to go to the board for a site plan approval. I would have to either sell the property or after receiving an ethics opinion from Joseph Santorino, decide what to do. I would not be allowed to vote on anything that comes before me that I own, obviously. And as a professional, yes, I do represent developers. I do not lobby on their behalf, but I do absolutely prepare contracts, negotiate contracts with developers, absolutely. And I intend to be a developer in the future. There's no secret. I put that on the record before. But yes, there could be a potential for a conflict, absolutely.
Susie has 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
Yes. After looking at sunbiz.org, you are definitely a developer. You have relationship with the property on 200th and 87th, with the CVS property, with the Stefano. You have several other developer relationships in the town. And I know that in the newspaper, you had spoken about you would not take any money from lobbyists or developers, and you really stood your ground on that. So by hearing that, and by you stating that, since you're a developer, you wouldn't be able to give yourself money for your own campaign because you pledged not to take any funds from developers or from lobbyists. So therefore, you would not be able to contribute to your own campaign.
We're going to move now to the seat 2 questions. First, Michael will have 1 minute to ask a question of Chuck.
Great, thank you very much. Chuck, as you can imagine, parks are very dear to my heart as being the chairman of the Park and Recreational Advisory Committee. And I did see on your website that one of your points was improved parks. So I would be curious as to wonder what your ideas are to improve the parks, and have you done anything since running last to put any of those ideas in motion?
Well, as far as the parks go, in my opinion, we haven't made much progress on them. 2% of our budget went to parks in 2009, 2%, or actually 6% goes to it now. We have more money in our emergency fund than we spend for parks and recreation. We have no basketball courts that I can remember in any of our parks. And basketball is a sport that a lot of the older, more mature people like to go out and do, yet we have none. I know that we've just put lightning detectors recently in, I believe it was 4 of the parks. I think they should be in all of the parks. If we have children that are out there and going to the parks, then they should be aware if there's lightning in the area. Unfortunately, at Columbus High School several years ago, they had 2 people killed when lightning struck on it was a beautiful day. And now, and for many years, they've had the lightning detectors in the parks. I would like to see the kids off the streets with their skateboards. I think if we can find them an area, make a skateboard park, that would be a great thing. I think, bottom line is we need to put more money and emphasis on the parks and giving the kids, more to do. Dog park would be a great thing. I know residents have asked for that over the years, and, we don't have one, Palmetto Bay does. Palmetto Bay is considered the city of parks. Honestly, I don't know what the town of Cutler Bay, what defines us. I would like to see the parks grow, and again, it has not. And we've also lost under land use. We've also lost some of our environmental areas to residential development. Since 2009, our residential development has gone from 43% up to 50%, I believe it is, but yet our parks have stagnated. We do have Lakes by the Bay Park that came in, but it's in my opinion, it's very bare bones. When you look at Tropical Park and areas like that, we don't really have a lot of facilities there where people can go out and have cabanas that they could rent or even use for free. There's not much shade from the sun. So I think we need to look at more options. Soccer fields are great. My son grew up from 5 years of age, 13 or 14, playing soccer at Cutler Ridge Park, but we have to give the kids more. The kids, too many of the kids now, today, are sitting at home. They're not outside. They're on their laptops. They're on their computers. They're on their iPhones. We need to give them options and get them back out exercising and playing in the parks.
Michael will have 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
Well, Chuck, I would certainly invite you to join our Parks and Recreational Advisory Committee meeting. We have one Monday, but certainly to say that our parks have not improved is not an informed statement. In fact, we have done an incredible job improving our parks. We just recently, in the Parks Committee, set recommendation to Council to approve close to $1 million worth of improvements for playground equipment, for exercise equipment. We have done tremendous renovations in Franjo Park. Since 2005, we've been able to acquire 2 new parks, Lakes by the Bay Park and Blue Heron Park. In response to a dog park, we're currently working with Councilman Roger Coriat on possibly looking at Lincoln City Park to retrofit and improve that into a dog park as an idea. We're working on the Aquatic Center. We're working on Town Center Plaza in terms of the lightning protection. That was well discussed in all of our Parks Committee, and we do have coverage in most of our parks. We were not able to overlap the system, so in our 3 major parks where we do have the majority of our children playing, we do have the alert system there. We also have a system in place where we're able to notify other parks if there's lightning in the area. We have done a tremendous amount of work with parks, and we are looking to do more with our parks. So please, I would invite you to come and be part of our Parks Committee audience, and we would love to hear your ideas, and you would definitely be able to hear the amount of money and the improvements that we've made to our parks since 2005.
Chuck has 1 minute to ask a question of Michael.
Michael, what do you consider the biggest challenge or the biggest issue in Cutler Bay right now, and what would you do to improve it or fix it?
Well, I think the biggest issue before us is not a real secret. I think it's traffic. I think that's the biggest topic that we're all talking about. There are a lot of ways that we need to go about to improve this particular issue. We have just started by creating some public involvement meetings. which I believe the first one is coming up later this week. But really, what we need to do is be able to manage our development. We cannot make the same mistakes that our friends to the south of us and our friends to the north of us have made. It is those mistakes that have increased our traffic through Cutler Bay. Yes, unfortunately, the mismanagement of development in Homestead and Redlands, and just recently what I consider the misguided decision to include 480 homes in Palmetto Bay. If you're in the south or into the north and you want to go either direction, there's one way to go, and unfortunately that's through Cutler Bay. We have three main ways to get through Cutler Bay: Old Cutler Road, we have US 1, and we have the Turnpike. And unfortunately, those are the main arteries. What can we do? We have to work with our neighbors. First of all, we have to manage our own development by maybe possibly changing some of our developments to include the proper traffic studies and not let developers submit their own traffic studies that favor them and show that our roads can continue to have increased traffic. I think working with our neighbors to the south and to the north of us to help them understand that their management decisions affect us here in Cutler Bay. I also think that working with the county and possibly looking at alternative traffic solutions, could be light rail systems, could be bringing the metro rail down to us, could be traffic signal timing. I think all of these are very important, and it is going to take an effort from all of us. We're not going to get rid of traffic, folks. It's just unfortunate. But what can we do to help ease the problems? I believe that working with our neighbors, working with the county, and working with each other, we will be able to come up with a solution to be able to help ease the traffic.
Chuck has 2 minutes.
You know, you use the words working to get somewhere. We need to stop what's going on in our own backyard before we worry about what's going on to the north and south of us. Like I mentioned earlier, our residential building or residential land use has gone up from 43% in 2009 to 50% now. We've made bad decisions on the town council approving developments. In my mind, there is no discussion about the master plan. If you're zoned low density, you build low density. We don't need to be approving medium density. We don't need to be approving high density. What it's zoned for is what it should be. We need to try to get more land and develop more parks and use that, you know, to go to the park system instead of continued building. You know, you're absolutely right on the traffic studies. There are different methodologies that are used to look at the traffic. The one that was used that I read for Palmetto Bay on the construction there, the Corradino group, who we happen to use over and over again, said that they were currently between 168th Street and 184th Street, 17,000 cars per day, and he said that that was okay, that we could actually put 4,000 cars more per day on Old Cutler Road. Now, does anybody in here think that we can put put 4,000 more cars on Old Cutler Road and not have it as a parking lot like it already is? You know, again, we've got to go back to our own backyard, take care of what we can do. We cannot control Homestead, we cannot control Palmetto Bay, we cannot control Pinecrest, we cannot control anything else. Yes, we do have to work with them as partners and be very strategic, but let's control what we can control first and get with them and try to talk some common sense into them down the road.
Thank you. That concludes the portion of our forum where the candidates ask questions of each other. Now I will ask questions that have been submitted by the audience, and each candidate will get a chance to answer each question. First question: do you have any ideas on establishing activities for teens and young adults in addition to seniors? Javier will have 3 minutes to address that question.
Invest more in your parks. That's where they want to go. Skate parks, basketball courts. We need to invest a little bit more in our parks and broaden what's available for them to do. Not everybody plays soccer. Not everybody plays baseball. I see an emphasis on those two sports in particular throughout our parks. Another big thing would be to support the aquatic facility. I support it in concept, provided it contains a component for a family pool. Now, all that's very preliminary. A lot has to do with costs. How much can we afford? How much do the people want to spend on an aquatic center? There may not be enough community support for an aquatic center, but really if you want to get the kids off the streets, invest more in parks.
Susie, same question. Do you have any ideas on establishing activities for teens and young adults in addition to seniors?
Yes, this is a very good question, and it's something that we've been working on very hard, especially during our budget workshops. One of the things that I think that we don't do well is look at what's already existing in our communities and how can we leverage those partnerships. So one of the things I hear over and over again is about basketball courts, and teenagers are very much interested in utilizing basketball courts. We have many basketball courts in our town. The problem is they're at the schools. To utilize our funds to build more basketball courts, I think is a waste of funds. I think that if we partner with the schools and provide supervised recreational activities at the schools where there already are basketball courts, that we could do so much more with less. We wouldn't have to spend the capital outlay. We could just work on a partnership with the school system, and we are working hard on that. As far as other programs for teens, we're looking at a skate park. That's another thing. We're working on grants for teenagers. It's been something that we've been working on for a long time. Also, a partnership with the South Miami-Dade Cultural Arts Center. At one point, at one of the meetings on the town center, someone spoke about putting in an amphitheater, and I was like, why would we put in an amphitheater when we have a $50 million beautiful cultural arts center? Let's get together with them and see what could we do, and voila, we did. We offered, the first thing we offered was discount tickets for our residents to go see Led Zeppelin, and then we had an opera. Now we need to look at some programs for teens and to really promote the culture shock where teenagers, and we just spoke of this at our last council meeting, making sure we get the word out about the activities at the Cultural Arts Center that are $5 a ticket for anyone between the ages of 13 and 24 or 23. And they get to bring a friend with them or an adult for $5 as well. What we need to do is we need to promote what's already in our town and make sure that we send out the communication. And we've done a lot of that by the recent, if you look in the Cutler Bay newspaper, the middle pull-out section once a month, we're trying to communicate activities through this newsletter, and that was one of my initiatives. I spoke with Mike Miller. We brought in his staff, Joseph, over to meet with Ralph Casals, and now we have a newsletter that goes out once a month through the community news. So as we do more things and do more intergenerational programs with our teens and our families, then in our parks or in other people's facilities, we'll be able to enhance the growth of programming in our town.
Chuck, same question. Do you have any ideas on establishing activities for teens and young adults in addition to seniors?
Yeah, I've already talked about the lack of basketball courts. I know the schools have some. Problem is with schools, they're not open at night, so there's no light. So where are the kids going to go to play basketball at night? The skateboard park, everybody seems to like that idea. It's definitely needed, but we've got to start working on it and make it happen. We need to look at some different areas. I'm also a member of the South Dade Military Affairs Committee, which serves the Homestead Air Reserve Base, the 482nd Fighter Wing, Special Operations Command South, and some other tenants there. We have a good outreach with the schools in Homestead and South Dade for an ROTC program. I think, with our new high school, bringing an ROTC program to that high school would benefit the schools, would give the kids something to do. It teaches them discipline and, helps them, go further in life. We need to utilize what we have. We've got the building at Cutler Ridge Park. We need to open it up to seniors. We need to get them out there, do some activities. It's something, that's been talked about for a while. The other thing that I don't think people realize, we always talk about the kids and the seniors. What about our veterans? The town of Cutler Bay has 1,696 veterans, but yet we don't hear about them. We don't do anything for them. To me, after serving for 4 years on the Military Affairs Committee and dealing with the veterans and the active duty, that's something that's near and dear to my heart, and I think that needs to be considered as well as with the teens and with the senior citizens.
Michael, I have to apologize. I went out of order. I'll make it up to you on the next question. You have 3 minutes to answer the same question. Do you have any ideas on establishing activities for teens and young adults in addition to seniors?
Oh, absolutely. So I get a half hour on the next question? Oh, absolutely. And that's a great question. So thank you for whoever submitted that question. And, believe it or not, that's something that we just recently addressed in the Parks Committee. As we moved forward into a different realm of responsibility in the Parks Committee, we noticed that there was something lacking, and that really was events and activities. And we said, yes, we have a lot of activities for our younger folks. We have movie night, we have great Easter egg hunt, we have the splash in the bay, and then we have our adult activities as well. We have wings over the bay, we have our chili cook-off, we have our rib fest. I mean, those are great, but where are we missing? We're missing in that center teenage area, and that's one of the reasons why we created our event subcommittee, to specifically address those areas. What can we do to increase the activities for our teens? And that's a lot of the areas that we're looking at. We talk about basketball courts. Yes, there is a need for basketball courts. And like Susie said, we have to look at what is best to utilize our money. What we're looking at right now is possibly entering into an interlocal agreement with our schools to allow us to use those courts, to allow us to expand the hours of those courts. So if we can do that, why do we want to take that money and build basketball courts? If we can't have a proper interlocal agreement, then yes, maybe that's an option. We also just received a grant and are going to build a new canoe launch out at Lakes by the Bay Park. That's a project we've worked on for many years. We finally got a grant. We're having a matching grant. We're going to spend over $400,000 putting in a canoe launch. But not only a canoe launch, we're putting in pavilions. We're going to put in a nature center pavilion over there to help expand the activities for our youth. A lot of exciting things that are coming. We talk about a skate park. Trust me, that came before our Parks Committee years ago when we developed the Youth Council, and that was one of the first things that Youth Council came and said, hey, what about a skate park? And we worked very hard on that, but we worked responsibly. It was the easy decision to say, yeah, let's just build a skate park over here, but maybe that wasn't the best utilization of the money. But where's the idea now? Another idea that we worked on for a long time, Town Center Plaza. And now it's all coming to fruition as we're having our public involvement meetings. And yes, part of the element of Town Center Plaza is our skate park. So we're doing a lot of things now to address these types of activities, and we're going to do more in the future. That's what our subcommittee is on events. We're looking at how we can develop that and really provide activities for everybody, seniors, adults, teens, and our young ones. So yes, we are doing that.
Moving on to the next question. The question is, are you for preventing overdevelopment along Old Cutler Road, and do you have any ideas on how to bring new businesses to fill our many empty stores that exist? We're going to start off this time with Susie. You have 3 minutes to answer that question.
Old Cutler Road is our gem of our community. We've done so much work to make that road beautiful and to be able to attract people to utilize that road. But what we have to do is we have to make the businesses along the corridor be user-friendly, be able to have good egress, making sure that everyone can get in and out, and make sure that whatever we put on Old Cutler Road, that it's charming, hometown feeling. So when you talk about development, there is a lot of land that still needs to be developed on Old Cutler Road, and so what it's called smart growth. What can we do to make sure that what we provide, we want restaurants, we want outdoor eating, we already know there's a Publix that's going to be coming in. So what are we going to do with the stores in front of the Publix? What are they going to be? What is some of the other areas when people want to revamp? Are we going to move them closer to the road to give that cozy feel? So as we look and we have development ideas, developers come to us, we want to be able to challenge them. I say that we want to be able to challenge them with their park impact fees and to make sure that they give back the park space when they develop those properties, so that we can have maybe an outdoor area for small theater, or grassy area where people can gather and we can have a small concert. So we have to make sure that we make those areas accessible to everyone so that they can walk, they can stroll. Right now, you see with the sidewalks, how many more people are really taking advantage of what is on Old Cutler Road. And also, we need to look at what can we do for the businesses, what are their needs. One of the things we did when we had the bus party, we were able to go to all those businesses and get coupons so that show that with the new route of the bus that they were able to take those coupons and go to these businesses. So we have to look at ways to let people know what businesses are there and how can we let them utilize those businesses to their advantage. So instead of just driving from point A to point B, knowing what's in between so that the residents can utilize our transportation service, they can walk to get an ice cream, they can walk to the store, they can walk to the pet shop, and be able to utilize all the services that we have. So we have to have some kind of interconnectedness with our communication plan, with our growth management plan, and with our communication, and with, of course, our services, whether it be transportation, walking, or biking. Thank you.
Javier, same question. Are you for preventing overdevelopment along Old Cutler Road, and do you have any ideas on how to bring new businesses to fill our many empty stores that exist?
I am against overdevelopment along Old Cutler Road. Unfortunately, the town council in 2012 passed and adopted land development regulations, which allowed for certain construction along Old Cutler Road up to 4 stories. You begin controlling growth with your land development regulations, and that's where it should have started. There should have never been an option for any developer to build 4 stories along Old Cutler Road. In fact, the prior charrette called for maximum 3 stories, preferably 2 stories. So you begin with amending the land development regulations. Now you may run into some legal challenges because now that they've been adopted since 2012, if you change it on a property owner, they could claim they have a vested right to build under the old code. But that's where you begin, by controlling growth. Then you don't support developers' applications to increase the density. The current town council has consistently supported developer applications where they are seeking to increase the density, whether they realize it or not. My own project was one of them. The vacant land along Old Cutler Road and 216th Street. The town council approved a change to the small scale plan, which allowed the developer higher density. Bringing new businesses to Old Cutler corridor is going to be difficult. Look around and you'll see vacant stores throughout all those little strip malls. You bring a new restaurant in, and I guarantee you it's going to affect the Old Cutler Sports Bar, it's going to affect rod benders. It's just a matter of numbers. There's only so many people that live within driving and walking distance to these businesses. There are options. You can provide tax incentives to try to bring these businesses in. Do I think it's going to work? No. We need to help the businesses that currently exist there, and one of the ways of helping them is limiting growth, both residential and commercial. We don't have the commercial base to support more and more malls along Old Cutler Road.
We're going to Michael for this one. Michael, same question. Are you for preventing overdevelopment along Old Cutler Road? And do you have any ideas on how to bring new businesses to fill our many empty stores that exist?
So, absolutely I'm against overdevelopment anywhere, especially along Old Cutler Road. As you can imagine, you know, being a resident for Cutler Bay as long as I have, I've seen the development on the Old Cutler Road. It's changed quite a bit, you know, from the old days back then when we had 1 or 2 stores, you know, Bert's Tackle Place right there where we used to turn our soda bottles into, you know. So if you drive, and we all know the historic value of Old Cutler Road. If you drive down Old Cutler Road, you don't see this overdevelopment. You see managed development down Old Cutler Road, and I certainly don't want somebody driving down Old Cutler Road, going through Pinecrest and going through Palmetto Bay, and then all of a sudden getting to Cutler Bay and seeing these 4-story buildings, seeing a 2-story CVS pharmacy. No, that's not the kind of representation I want on our town. I want it to be hometown feeling like it has always been in the past. That's one of the reasons why we incorporated, was to be able to maintain that great hometown feeling that we have. So yes, I am absolutely against overdevelopment of Old Cutler Road. As far as what do we do for our businesses, and I'm going to have an opportunity to be able to speak before the Cutler Bay Business Association here shortly, and my message is going to be the same to them, is that we have to do more as a community to be able to encourage and support small business. When I was growing up here, small business was the lifeblood of Cutler Bay. There wasn't a whole lot of big businesses around. It was the mom and pop stores that kept us going, whether it was the Grand Value, Dad's Hardware. That's where you went. There wasn't Home Depot back in those days. Those were the mom and pop stores that kept us going. That's the type of development we need to encourage. But we have to do better as a town to be able to support and attract that type. Those are the type of plans that we need to put in. We have to support our businesses. We have to make sure that we get the right businesses in. And, you know, I'm sorry, but I don't think we need another bank in Cutler Bay. I'm not quite sure we need another gas station in Cutler Bay. Not that the businesses that we have aren't fine, but, I mean, I don't know about you, but I certainly don't have enough money to put in 8 banks, you know? So it's what type of business do we want to encourage? We've seen businesses fail, yes. We've seen restaurants fail. Why? That's what we need to find out. Are we putting the right demographics in place? Are we supporting the right types of business? I mean, we've had businesses that have been successful in Cutler Bay for years. You know, why don't we take those success stories and be able to encourage the future growth of small businesses in our town?
Chuck, same question. You have 3 minutes to answer the question. Are you for preventing overdevelopment along Old Cutler Road? And do you have any ideas on how to bring new businesses to fill our many empty stores that exist?
Yeah, I think my record on development on Old Cutler Road, I said it 5 years ago, I was strongly against 4-story buildings on Old Cutler Road. I would like to limit the development on Old Cutler Road as much as we can, and try to help out the businesses that are there to try to work to get better and to strive and to succeed. You know, unfortunately, we are not a business-friendly town from what I've heard from several business owners. I've even heard it from my brother-in-law, who's a contractor, who's had to go in and try to get permitting done. You know, one of the things that, you know, I look at, we've got Old Cutler Sports Bar. It's been around for a long time. It was Saga Bay for many, many years. Everybody knows what Saga Bay Lounge was. It was a drug den. It was a place that you didn't even want to drive by. You've got an owner that has gone in there, turned it into a family restaurant where you can actually take your family in there and not worry about them, and it's safe. Yet he's been constantly harassed with things about his sign, and now it's parking. Now he was given, I think it's 14 days to find a replacement or find a solution for parking. He rented out, or leased out, the lots to the left and right of him, and now going into the town, they're saying that they've got to be paid. You're talking a significant expense for a small business owner that has put a lot of time and effort into making a business that we all wanted. I think one of the things that we've got to look at is, start getting it out of your mind that we're going to get a Bonefish Grill or high-end restaurants in our town. That's not who we are. That's not the demographics we have. Trust me, I've been in retail for 30 years. Businesses do not go into areas that they don't do a long and hard study of the demographics. We need to look at the right types of businesses to bring in, the ones that, our residents are going to want to go to. We had RJ Gators, which was not even it was a medium type restaurant when it came to price. It failed, so we've got to look at being more business friendly, getting back and protecting the business owners that grew up here. I mean, going back a few years, the town even harassed the lady that worked at South Dade Government Center as a hot dog vendor because it didn't fit the new town standards, and that went back and forth. I mean, we've got to learn to be able to help businesses. We're sitting on what I consider a white elephant with the town center building. That's taking 8% of our budget right now. Right now it's 31% vacant, and we need to start making deals with residents that have office buildings or renting office buildings in other areas. Give them a great price to bring their business into our town and stay here, and not trying to get them into a 5-year lease that is very restrictive for a lot of small business owners.
That concludes the questions submitted by the audience, and now we're going to move into the summation. We're going to start with Susie. Susie, you have 5 minutes to summarize and conclude.
Well, I want to thank all the candidates for taking time out, and all of the people in the audience for coming out today to hear us. I think that all of us up here have made some really great points about our views, and we hope that you'll be able to make an informed decision when it comes time for you to make a vote. For me, I really feel that my passion and my commitment to this town has been shown over the years. I've been in office since 2006. I have made quite the improvements to the town, and supported many from my fellow council members. And the biggest improvement that I'm most proud of is how I've been able to work with the Communities for a Lifetime Committee and been able to bring a lot of programs related to our seniors and talk about our transportation options, and being able to expand the circulator bus from 3 days to 5 days to 6 days. And now we have 4,000 riders on our circulator bus. And pushing the routes, pushing the extra days has enabled us. The biggest thing now is to being able to add connectivity to the Metro Rail, and that we just recently passed. So transportation is an issue in our town. What I'd like to see is more of a live, work, play, so that we do not have to commute so far to work. And a lot of our residents have to move north or south to go to work. Very few can work here. So we really need to look at a model on how can we live, work, and play here in our own community so that we do not have to have these long commutes. I myself have a huge commute, and it is a burden. And one of the things that one of the candidates up here spoke about was worrying about our own home before we look to the north or the south. We need to look regionally, because when someone builds just to the north of us, 485 homes on Old Cutler Road, and now 6,000 condos on US 1 just north of 184th, it affects us. So we cannot sit around and just work in our bubble. We have to work regionally, and we've been working really hard with the coalition of mayors and coming together with the transportation corridor. We are all committing to putting in funding to help with the light rail or something, and it's going to connect us from Homestead all the way up instead of the horrific transportation issues that we have now and the ways that it takes us to commute from one place to another. If you've never taken the transportation system that we have now, you need to take it so that you know what to fight for the future. And if light rail is the mode that we're going to go with, and we can all put funding in to help with the study through our CITT funds, it's not through your tax dollars, it's through the gas tax, then we would be able to help move the town along. I also think that recreational, we have a long way to go with our recreational activities, and a community center is one of the things that was a part of our strategic plan. And we need to think smart. We have some developers that have property in our town, and what can we do to have them build us a community center? I mean, they have to give park impact fees, so what can we do to turn it around and let them build us a center in lieu of those park impact fees, so that we do have a community center where all ages can come together and have activities and have fun. That is really, really important to me, and I think it's really important to the town residents that everyone wants a place, a center, a community place, a community hub where they can do activities. Our seniors, our young children, our teenagers, and our families all deserve the best that we can give. And by being financially secure and having the reserves that we have of $18.5 million, I think it's something that we should be proud of. I think we need to continue to be conservative in our budget and in our growth, but yet be smart and utilize the resources that we have in the community so that we do not spend all of our funds when there's something duplicative right down the street. We share and we partner, and that's how you get things done. Thank you.
Javier, 5 minutes to summarize and conclude.
Good evening. Thank you, Steve, for having us, concerned citizens, and thank you all for coming out. Oftentimes, there's a handful of people that come to these meetings. This is a great turnout. Actions speak louder than words. Ms. Loyzelle has been on the council for 5 years. Take a look at her voting record. Take a look at her sponsorship record. She has not sponsored any substantive legislation. Remember, council members, the mayor, vice mayor, are policy makers. They are not there to rubber stamp whatever the town manager brings to them. It's the opposite. As policy makers, we make the policy, the manager enforces it, staff carries it out. Ms. Loyzelle has spoken about being concerned about overdevelopment. I encourage you to go to cutlerbay.net and look at the voting record. Over and over and over, supporting developers' applications, particularly those that hire a certain lobbyist. I'm not saying it. It's there in black and white. I think Cutler Bay can do better. To be quite honest, no council member should be meeting with any lobbyist. The Florida courts have made it very clear that in extrajudicial decision-making bodies, such as the town council, when they act on zoning and site plan approval, they are sitting in an extrajudicial capacity, and ex parte communications are improper. I'm not sure why the town attorney allows it. Ms. Loyzelle has met with lobbyists, has met with developers, and has failed to put it on the record. The last time that the CVS application came up, she had an opportunity to put her contacts on the record, and she failed to. I believe Councilman Coriat was the only one that went forward and put one of his contacts on the record. And there's a reason, because when lobbyists meet behind closed doors with your elected officials, we don't know what's going on. It's not fair to us, the 'Cutler Bay can do better. I truly believe I am the better candidate than Ms. Loyzelle. This is not personal against Ms. Loyzelle. This is personal for me and my family and for my children. One of the things I think the council should consider, whether I win or not, is converting the town center to condominium. The town has no business being a landlord. We are bleeding money at that town center. We have too many vacancies. All the maintenance falls on us, the taxpayers. If the town council will consider converting it to condos, we could sell this office space that's not necessary for the town and reduce our overhead, both in mortgage, maintenance, and taxes. There's room for improvement. Ms. Loyzelle's been on the council for 5 years, and 216th Street between Oak Cutler Drive and 87th Avenue still floods. We need solutions. Actions speak louder than words, and on November 8th, I respectfully ask for your vote, and let's have a change at the town council. Thank you.
Chuck will have 5 minutes to summarize and conclude.
Well, in 2005, the residents of Cutler Bay, or what would become Cutler Bay, voted to incorporate. And they did this for many, many reasons. They were tired of how they were treated by Miami-Dade County. They were tired of the corruption. They were tired of the misuse of their tax dollars. They wanted to control their way of life. They wanted to maintain that small town flavor that the people in Cutler Ridge grew up with. And unfortunately, you know, it started out very good. Everybody, I think, started out with good intentions, and then things started to change. We had ordinances come up that were voted on, that were argued back and forth, that would not allow you to park on the swale in front of your house. In fact, you couldn't even park your car on the grass in your own yard, in your own front yard. You know, it's time to get common sense back into the government of Cutler Bay, and I think that that's been lost. You know, I've heard tonight a lot of, we're working on it, we're working on it. Well, I heard the same things 4 or 5 years ago. So, in my mind, it's time to stop working on it and start doing it. You know, when you're looking at different things out there, the development by the town center, the plaza, how many of you know that $1.8 million was spent on that property? Probably not many. How many of you were asked if you would want the town plaza at that location, which to me I think is a horrible location, behind a mall, next to the turnpike? I think we should have had a voice of where that town plaza was going to go. Maybe it's next to a park, maybe it's in another area. But bottom line is, we weren't given that opportunity. We were not given that chance. And on top of that, we're spending now as a town, I think about $75,000 to have a study done, to have all of these pretty blueprints and mocked up art and things like that, so people can come and look at it. Save the money. Find out where the people want it first and then go from there. We're spending another $65,000 on public interest into the aquatic center, which I think is a great idea. I think it's needed. I think it's very good. I think it'll be, you know, a crown jewel for, you know, what we have going on in the town. Bottom line is, Miami-Dade just opened about a month or two ago in West Perrine, I believe it was, a $5.9 million aquatic center. So why are we spending $75,000 of your money, by the way, not the town council's money, of your money and my money, on the aquatic center to look at what they want? You know, if it's me, and I look at a lot of budgets, and I look at cutting costs wherever I can, I'm going to take their plans, which we could get for free, and I'm going to use that as a starting point. $5.9 million they did it for could be a great starting point. Right now for the aquatic center, the 3 bids that are out are $12.7, $18.7, and $21.7 million. Again, taxpayers' money spent for pretty drawings and things like that. We got to look at government transparency. Palmetto Bay, you go on their website, you can find out exactly what is being spent, who it's to, and what it's for. You go on our website on July 28th, $3,500 is spent for Pig Floyd's barbecue. I don't know about you, but I didn't get the invite. A month before, $3,900 was spent. Don't know what it's for. Probably was something that was needed or whatever, but as a resident, you should not have to go and wonder. Acosta Tractors looking through the check registry, $200,000 and $300,000 at a time. Now, when I think of Acosta Tractors, I'm thinking, well, we bought a lot of tractors, but it happened over and over again. I had to do some digging and do some research to find out that they were actually the company that was involved in doing the sewers and things like that. Bottom line is, you should not have to go through that trouble. That should be readily available to you. Getting back to common sense, look at the town center that Mr. Giraud brought up. 8% of our budget is going to that town center. We've got a 31% vacancy rate. It is costing us money. I have a problem when we're talking about parks, that we're spending more money on our town center than we're putting into our parks. And actually, the town center is our third biggest revenue expense in our budget. So, in closing, I'd like to just say, again, thank you for coming tonight, and let's try to get some common sense back into what we're doing and do a reset of the town of Cutler Bay and go back to the roots of the small town, and let's work, together.
Michael, you have 5 minutes to summarize and conclude.
I thought we agreed on a half hour. Now, again, thank you very much for everybody coming out this evening, taking time out of your busy schedules to hear from us. I know it's important. It's very important to us as well. And making a decision to run for council is an important decision. It is very important, and it takes a huge commitment. And as you can see, the four of us up here, if it was an easy commitment, there'd be 20 folks up here. But it does. It takes a big commitment. And part of that commitment of running for council is being involved in the community, understanding what's going on, what the needs of the residents are. So why don't we just take a few moments and talk about our successes, right? We do have challenges, yes, and those will always be before us, but pretty soon those challenges will be successes as well. We've done a great job since 2005. Have we done the best job? No, but we've done a great job. Let's build on that foundation. In the parks, we've added or are about to add sand volleyball courts. We're looking at the basketball courts, and yeah, maybe Kevin one day will get his courts, I hope so. The canoe launch is coming. But if you want to understand the process, you have to be involved. If you're not at the meetings, you're not going to understand the process. Where did the Aquatic Center come from? It came from a strategic master plan meeting that we had when we all went up and put our little dots on the board. And you know what? One of the biggest ones that had the most dots? The Aquatic Center. Because it's important to the residents of Cutler Bay. The pool at Cutler Ridge Park has been there since the 60s and has been hugely successful. Why do we need a bigger aquatic center? Because we can hardly get in there because we have competitive swim teams. It is not a competitive pool. We can't hold sanctioned meets there. We need an Olympic-sized pool. This all came out of listening to the residents at the strategic master plan. Come to the meetings at the Aquatic Center. You'll understand why we had to commission these folks for $60,000 to listen to our ideas, to make sure we had the right plan. Yes, Perrine has a pool. Yes, other municipalities have a pool, but it might not be the right aquatic center for us. We want to make sure that what we do is right for our residents. That's why we're spending the money. The same way with Town Plaza. This is the park that we talked about for years. Where were we going to put this? It started out, believe it or not, folks, as a skate park. It started out as we're going to put a skate park someplace. But it wasn't the best use of our money. We were looking at trying to get grants to help that because we listened to the youth of Cutler Bay. That's what they wanted. But you have to be involved. You have to go to the meetings. You have to understand the process. If you don't listen, you can't be effective. Involvement is key. One of my plans is to be able to connect our community, to grow what we've already done. We've done a beautiful job, folks, on Caribbean Boulevard. It is beautiful. We have a nice bike lane there. We've done an outstanding job on Old Cutler Road. In my opinion, that stretch that goes through Cutler Bay is probably the prettiest section on all of Old Cutler Road. You see a difference when you come through Palmetto Bay and Pinecrest into Cutler Bay. Look, this is beautiful. Caribbean Boulevard, beautiful. Let's go, let's keep going. Let's do Franjo. Let's connect our community with bike paths to all of our parks so we can ride our bikes. Let's connect our community with the folks that we have here. Let's do a better job with working with our seniors at Eastridge. Instead of those folks being the ones behind the wall, why not bring them out and show that this is a jewel in our community, folks? Believe it or not, Eastridge is one of the only retirement villages of its kind in the state of Florida. We don't do enough to promote that. There is a great jewel. Old Cutler Road is a jewel. Folks, it's being involved, it's understanding the community, it's wanting to take us to the next level. We've got a great foundation. Let's work together, and it's going to take work. Yes, you say work, 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 work. Well, the byproduct of work is doing, right? We have to work with our friends to the south and our friends to the north and with each other, with our businesses, in order to grow. If we don't do that, we're never going to make it. That's why it's important for all of us to stick together, build on this foundation, and you will see that our challenges of today will become our successes for tomorrow. Thank you.
That concludes our forum tonight. I want to thank the candidates for coming here and participating in our forum. And I want to remind you all that this is the first of 2 candidate forums. Next month, the first Tuesday of October, we will also have a forum. All of the candidates are cordially invited to attend. And please come and bring your neighbors. I'd like to encourage you all to come up here and speak, network, and interact one-to-one with the candidates. And that's it for tonight. Thank you very much.